guys, it's Workin bringing you a quick update on Bitcoin. Hope you guys are having a wonderful afternoon. We're looking at Bitcoin to the US dollar. This is the 4-hour chart on Coinbase. And last time we spoke, Bitcoin had made this big move here, guys. Was starting to consolidate within this zone between 4120 and 4000. And I told you guys it was sitting up in here, guys. I told you guys to expect a little bit of a pullback. We had some bearish divergence, and we were seeing that low volume. We were seeing long stacks, shorts falling off the board. And sure enough, we did have that pullback here. We saw that price came from about 4100 on Coinbase, pulled back to about 3950, and then it kind of continued up here. So not nearly the dramatic pullback that may have happened, guys. In fact, this has been a pretty bullish sign. Now we had this little move here. We just had price recently wick up here back to about 41, a little above 4100, 4120, somewhere thereabouts, guys. Got pushed back down, and we're still consolidating within this zone. Now, unfortunately, we are still seeing very low volume sitting at about 5.2 billion on the day. That does make it very ripe for manipulation, as I've pointed out many times in the past, guys. So you really want to be very careful. Again, this is kind of a no trade zone for me until I get some kind of confirmation. Looking at the daily chart, looking at our moving averages and exponential moving averages, we can see in our Bollinger Bands. Bollinger Bands continue to get constricted here. In other words, they're tightening, they're bottlenecking, which means that they're preparing for a possible larger move. Now, we had this little move here. We hit the top of the upper Bollinger Bands here and got pushed right back down, and we just hit them again. And it's not really getting a strong rejection, which again is a bullish sign. And also the fact that we have been above this 21-day EMA for the last 3 days now. We're going on day 3 now, and we have not had, and again, that price has not retraced much at all. Again, that is a sign of strength. Now the question is whether or not this can continue. Looking at our shorts, we can see that shorts continue to fall off the board. In fact, since January 2nd, guys, I mean, shorts have fallen off, I think, about 25–30%. Let's look. Yeah, 31.5% shorts have fallen off the board since January the 2nd. So that is very dramatic. And then coming over here and looking at longs, guys, longs continue to stack here. We had this little brief profit taking here, which is a bullish sign. But then of course longs continue to stack here for the last 24 hours or so. Not dramatically, but still, overall they are dramatically stacked, especially when we look at longs versus shorts, guys. And as I always tell you, we're in a low volume market. Longs are stacked, shorts dropping off the board. That is certainly a warning sign, a big warning flag that market makers could just drive price down to try to liquidate all these long positions if this does continue. Now again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying it is definitely something that we need to be aware of, guys. Right now we're bumping right up against, let me zoom out here to the daily chart. As I've shown you guys in the past, if we look at this overall structure here, since price dropped down from that $6,000 range, we can see it started to create some structure right here. So if we use this as our pivot point, we go swing high, swing low. And I know I've shown you guys here in the past, but for the benefit of reminding you and for those that may not have seen it, we can see that we have this perfect hit that price has been unable to decisively break above between that 618 fib and that 65 fib level, what's known as the golden pocket. And we can see we've wicked above it here, as I showed you guys last time, but we've not had a daily candle open, close or open above that area at all. So that's providing a very, very strong resistance, guys. And we can see just by looking at the chart with the structure here that we knew this was going to be a strong resistance. But the fact that we have that golden pocket overlying right on top of that is no coincidence, guys. This is acting as an extremely strong resistance, and we need to get above that zone, above this 4120 area, decisively above that. We need to have a daily candle opening and closing above that area. Again, not just opening, not just closing, but opening and closing above that area for a nice decisive break above. And I don't think we're going to get that unless we get a massive influx in volume. And that certainly can happen, guys, but it's not happening as of yet. So it's something we need to keep an eye on. Looking at the overall structure in the market, as I showed you guys last time, though, we are seeing that. We are seeing some structure. If I go swing low, swing high of this latest structure, we can see we had a perfect hit, wick down right here at the 618 fib, that golden ratio. That is a solid hit. That's where the majority of waves 2 hit. And putting my Elliott hat on, which you guys know I do not like Elliott wave in low volume markets at all. But if I do look at this from an Elliott wave perspective, we can definitely see that this is looking at a 1, 2, and coming up for the 3, which would be 4 or 5, something. I'm just eyeballing it here, guys. So looking at that from an Elliott perspective, knowing this would be a 1, this would be a 2, that would mean logic tells us we're looking at a wave 3 now. And if we are looking at this as a wave 3, where is that wave 3 going to hit? Well, if I pull my fib extension, And again, take this with a grain of salt, guys, because we're not having the volume to back this up yet, and I do not think this is going to happen without a massive influx in volume. But if we do get that massive influx in volume, pull my fib extension, we know that wave through in high volume markets, wave 3, oftentimes you're going to target the 1618 fib level, which is right up in here. So that would bring us all the way up above 5,000 at about 5.3. If we do get that target. And again, we're not seeing any sign that we're going to get that as of yet at all. In fact, this is extremely, extremely weak, extremely, extremely stank, especially compared to this here. So if I zoom in here to the 4 hour and I try to figure out what's going on, again, keeping my Elliott wave hat on, looking at this as okay, we know this would be at the bottom of our primary wave 2. We're on a primary wave 3. Within that primary wave 3, we have 5 subwaves. So if I look at this from that perspective, we can look at this as a 1, 2, coming up for the 3. So if we look at this as a primary, or excuse me, as our sub wave 3 of the primary wave 3, we know that sub wave 3 is also going to have 5 subwaves in it. So we can look at that subwave as, and again, I know for those of you that aren't familiar with Elliott wave, I do apologize, guys. So again, just take this with a grain of salt. But it does look like we're looking at a 1, 2, looking for that 3 to top out, probably somewhere in this area, 4 and 5, somewhere in this area. So if I pull that fib extension again, excuse me, guys, where would that subwave within the subwave 3 target? Probably somewhere in here. So I was a little bit high on that. Probably somewhere in this area right in here. So we'd have one more push up to finish up that wave 3, and then coming right back down for the 4, back up for the 5. Again, if this all is correct, if this count is correct, and I am doing this, guys, this is not technical at all. Again, I'm just eyeballing that. I'm not getting technical because the volume is so low and it's almost just a waste of time in low volume markets to do that. But if we do get that influx of volume, those are the kind of targets that I'm going to be looking at. I do think with an influx in volume, we could very easily push above 5,000, but we're not seeing any kind of sign that it's going to do that yet. In fact, we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing long stack, shorts falling off the board, low volume. That's a recipe for disaster. Again, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, guys, be very, very, very careful. I'm still looking. If we get up into this zone here between 4,400 and 4,315, as I told you guys before, and we still have those long stacked, still have shorts falling off the board, and still have very low volume, I will absolutely consider entering a short right in this area. Nothing has changed from my last analysis, guys. I just want you guys to kind of know what to look for. Sorry, guys, had to briefly pause the video and take care of something there. So anyway, yeah, what we're looking at here, guys, this is on the daily chart. Obviously, we are looking at price came up here, retested the top of this zone here at about 41.20 here on Coinbase. Again, we had a strong rejection. The fact that we've been able to remain in this zone is a bullish sign, guys. The fact that we're staying, as I pointed out earlier, that we are staying above this 21-day EMA on the daily chart. Let me go back to the daily chart. Yeah, above this 21-day EMA on the daily chart, guys, is a bullish sign. But we're not going to, unless we get that influx of volume coming through, we're not going to sit up here forever. In other words, probably only going to consolidate in this zone. We had this little rejection here where we can look at, we have this kind of spinning top neutral candle as of today. And that's not, pardon me, that's not going to last much longer, guys. I do think there's a good chance this thing is going to either have to break out or break down, one or the other. I don't think it's going to sit in this zone much longer. We can see that it's getting squeezed here. We got a long wick here, long wick down below. Typically, that means it's going to move here very soon, and the question is which direction is it going to go? And as of right now, we're just not seeing any sign that price is going to spike up as of yet. Now, again, doesn't mean it's not going to. Just means this is something that we're going to need to keep a very, very close eye on. And one of the things I'm going to be watching here, if we extend this little line out here from this little wedge, is I want to see price maintain itself above this kind of ascending support line that was established right here. If it stays above that ascending support line, guys, I'm fine with it. If it does break below that and back into this zone here, pardon me, I do think there's a good chance that we're coming down a little bit lower, guys, and especially depending on what longs and shorts do and what volume does. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm going to be keeping a very, very close eye on, guys. Now, if we stay above this 3,600 zone here, okay, if that's no problem at all. Remember, that is that 618 fib, the lower part of this area, about the 3,600, just below that is that 618 fib level, guys. So, you know, I will still hold on to hope. If we do drop below decisively 3,600, as I pointed out last time, I think it'll be a very quick drop down to retest these lows, very likely likely, or at least into this zone here between 3,400 and 3,250. So I want to see a decisive break above here. I want to see us getting into at least this zone here between 4,400 and 4,315, and I will reevaluate right into this zone. If we break into this zone with strong volume and longs taking profit and shorts starting to stack, I will consider adding to my long position, as I said on the last update. If we hit this zone with long stacking, shorts continuing to fall off the board, and low volume, I will definitely short this area right here. Very, very likely I will short this area right here. So these are the things that we're keeping an eye on for now, guys. This is a no trade zone for me. I'm just kind of staying out of it and waiting to see which direction price goes, and then I'm not going to force a trade. I will let the trade setup come to me and react accordingly, and I would encourage you guys to do the same. Not financial advice, do what you want, just kind of my opinion. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap things there, guys. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, would appreciate an upvote if you have enjoyed this content. Till next time, guys, please trade safe, take care of yourselves. This is Workin, signing out.